Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the TI-83 Plus graphing calculator to solve logarithmic and exponential equations. To base 10, this has log to base e. So I can only use these if it's base 10 or base e. So for right now, let's do, I'm going to do c first. So I'm going to hit the log, and then it's x plus 4, close parentheses. Okay, remember I want one side to be 0 because if I want to solve the equation f of x is equal to 0, then I want a graph y equal f of x. So if it's f of x is equal to k or some other number, I want the k on the same side. So I get f of x minus k equals 0. So I want one side to be 0. So here's what I do. I bring this over to this side. So that would make this a minus, and this will be log of 5x plus 1, close parentheses. And then we bring this over to the other side. This will be minus the log of 2. And we close parentheses. Okay, so this reads the same thing, whether I have it like this, the way it is, or if I have log of x plus 4 minus the log of 5x plus 1 minus the log of 2 equal to 0, it's still the same equation. It's just written differently, but it's still the same thing. So that's why, for graphing purposes, I need one side to be 0. So now I just hit the graph. And it appears to cross right here. Okay, so what we're going to do, sometimes you can tell what the value is, sometimes you can't. So here's what we can do. We go to second and then hit the trace function, which we're actually accessing the calculate. So hit that function and see, we're talking about zeros. Enter 2. So we hit 2. And there's my cursor. So basically what we do, where it appears to cross the x-axis, we want the cursor there on the left side. We move it a little bit and hit enter. And then now it says right bound, so we want it on past that. So hit it again and then hit enter. And then for the guess, you can just ignore that and just hit enter. And this tells me that the answer is 0.222 and so on. 0. So that says x is equal to this value, the y value is 0. So in other words, the x-intercept is this number and this value. Okay. So the solution to this equation right here is x is equal to 0.22 if you round it out to 2 places. If you convert that to a fraction, it's actually 2/9. Okay. Now, let me clear this, and let's look at this one right here. Let's look at this one. This has log again to base 10, so we can do that one with what we have here in the calculator. So let me just clear this and enter this one here. So this would be log, and then enter the 3x minus 3. Remember, it's not this negative, it's the minus key because it's subtraction. So parentheses, and then minus log of 4, close parentheses, always close parentheses. Okay, remember we want one side to be 0, so let's just bring this over to this side. So I would make that a minus. Minus the log of x plus 1. Okay, and then we hit the graph key. Okay, and there's my graph. So if I go again, if I assume it has a intercept, I go to second, calculate, number 2 is a 0, so I hit enter. And then I find my cursor. There's the cursor. Okay, so we want it to the left, so if it crosses, it's somewhere in there. So let's hit enter. Okay, and let's keep going. Okay, that's far enough. Let's hit enter. The guess we can ignore. Hit enter. And it gives me an error. See, this tells me there's no sign change. So no matter how far I go with the cursor, the graph simply stays below the x-axis, which means there's no intersection. Okay, so what happens if you're solving an equation and you do it by the graph, and the graph of that equation is either strictly above the x-axis or strictly below the x-axis, it's not going to cross the x-axis, so it's not going to have any x-intercepts, which means it's not going to have any zeros, which means there's no solution. Okay, now clear this. Now the first one then has the log to base 3. So let me show you what to do for this one. I'm going to have to use what is called the change of base formula. This is your change of base formula. So on the calculator, if you want the log of a number to base 10, all you got to do is hit the log function, enter the number. As long as it's positive, it'll give you the answer. If you want the natural log of any number, as long as it's positive, you hit the ln function, enter the number, it'll give you the answer. But if you have some other base, okay, 3 or 4 or 5, then this tells you how to work it. So this says if you want to find the log of a number x or some base, then that's going to be the same as the log of this number x to whatever base you want over the log of whatever this base is to the base you selected here. Okay, so what base do we select? Well, on the calculator we have base 10, ln is base e, so this could be the log to base 10, or it could be ln here, and that formula is going to work. Okay, so let me close this now. So now we can go back to the first one. And again, what I'm going to do to solve this equation, I'm just going to rewrite it. Everything's going to stay the same except the 2 is going to go over. So I'm going to have the log of x minus 3, x minus 5 rather, plus the log of x plus 3 to the base there, minus 2 equals to 0. So over here, clear. Okay, so I'm going to enter this using the change of base. So what if the change of base formula said the log of some number equals to the log of whatever this is divided by the log of whatever this base is. So that means to rewrite this, I'd have to say, again, I'm going to use log to base 10. So this is going to be log of x minus 5, close parentheses, divided by the log of whatever that base is. In this case, it's 3. So that'll be 3. Close parentheses. Okay. Plus the log of this number, which is x plus 3, divided by the log of that same base, which is 3. Okay, remember, one side has to be 0, so I have to bring this 2 over. So this will be minus 2. Okay, so now we hit the graph. Okay, so this one, it appears that if we look at the graph here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It appears to cross at 6. But to double check, I'm going to do it the way we were doing it. So second, calculate, hit 2. Okay. So let's find the cursor first. So hit the arrow key here. Keep hitting the arrow key until we see the cursor. Okay, there it is. And it's what's left bound, so we'll keep it there and hit enter. And now it's asking for a right bound here. So just hit the arrow key until it goes to the right, and you want it above the x-axis. Otherwise, if it's not, there's no point of intersection, so there's no solution. But this one does appear to go above the x-axis. So there it is. Hit enter. Okay, it says to guess. You can ignore that. Just hit enter again. It tells me x is equal to 6. So this tells me that the graph actually crosses the x-axis at the point 6, 0. So the 6 is the 0 of that function, which is the solution to this equation. So if you put a 6 here in this equation, a 6 here, and do the calculations, you'll get the number on the right side. That's how you can check it. Okay, so that's the solutions to those three. Okay, clear? Now let's look at these. These were logarithmic equations. Equations with one or more logs in the equation.